Hello everyone, I am Jusmeyoo, the fifth and last reporter of Group C. So today I'm gonna discuss to you the continuation of the second challenges of United Nations, which is the issues in security and peace. So our main objectives here is to understand and elaborate what are the civil war in Syria and United States sought to invade Iraq in 2001 all about, and why this too has become a challenge to the United Nations. So let's start with the civil war in Syria. Civil war in Syria is an ongoing violent conflict between pro-democratic and Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's long-standing dynastic regime. Yes po, it's still an ongoing war. The war has been a source of significant instability in the Middle East since 2011, and the resultant civilian displacement and refugee exodus constitute one of the worst humanitarian crises in modern history. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is the 19th president of Syria since July 17, 2000. He is an ally of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. In 2012, Assad confirmed for the first time its possession of chemical weapon arsenal. Syria threatened to deploy chemical weapons against foreign aggressors but stressed that it would never use them on civilians. It is a weapon used to protect its country from the enemy or foreign enemy, and said that they won't use it to the civilians. However, numerous multinational investigations have uncovered Syrian chemical weapons attack and targeted Syrian civilians. Although they stated that they won't and never use them on the civilians, some investigators found out that they use those chemical weapons to attack its own civilians, the Syrian civilians. The Syrian government strongly denies having used any chemical weapons. So because of this, the United Nations made a resolution, which is the UN Security Council Resolution 2118. It is about the agreement to eliminate Syria's chemical weapons. Syrian government is accused of carrying out chemicals, which is chlorine gas, attacks on its civilian. And as I've said earlier, it is a charge it denies. An image of how a chlorine gas irritates people's eye and skin and can burn the lungs. The report said that Syrian Air Force helicopters had dropped chlorine gas on rebel-held areas, twice in March 2015 and once in April 2014. Russia has threatened to veto any SC or Security Council resolution against Syria. So, the forbid, no? Meaning, whomever tries to file a resolution against Syria, they will forbid it. They will be against it, kumbaga. So, aside from Russia, China also have vetoed a UN resolution to impose sanctions on Syria over the alleged use of chemical weapons. They actually have a reason for this, on why they vetoed or why are they against on the UN resolution against Syria. So Russian President Putin said that the sanction against Syria is totally inappropriate and would only undermine confidence, meaning or the Syria will only look less powerful and weak if they go on with the UN resolution. Meanwhile, China's UN ambassador said that it was too early to reach a final conclusion on who carried out the chemical attacks. So that's the reason on why they vetoed on the UN resolution. The UN is again ineffectual amid a conflict, meaning they couldn't able to find a way to stop or put the war on end. That has led to over 220,000 people dead and 11 million displaced. And as of December 2020, more than 500,000 people have been killed or are missing. 387,118 are documented deaths, while 205,300 people are missing and are pre-assumed dead. This is according to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. So now let us proceed to the last topic, which is the United States sought to invade Iraq in 2001. This claimed that Iraq's Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction that threatened the world. Saddam Hussein is Iraq's dictator. He rules through fear and has a track record of using chemicals and biological weapons against both his own population and during Iran-Iraq War in 1980s. Please take note that he rules through fear. The 9/11 terror attacks on the 11th of September 2001 shook the whole world. Al-Qaeda's terrorists hijacked U.S. passenger planes and flew them into both World Trade Centers in New York and Washington. Almost 3,000 people were killed. But a question here is, it was the Al-Qaeda terrorists who hijacked and launched the 9/11 terror attack on the U.S. But why did the U.S. invade or go after the Iraq? Well, it wasn't that the Iraq had a hand in 9/11. It was the fear that Iraq could have a hand in the next 9/11 because, as I've stated, they have the use of weapons of mass destruction. The primary rationalization for the Iraq War was articulated by a joint resolution of the United States Congress known as Iraq Resolution. In November of 2002, the UN passed Resolution 1441, which is giving Saddam one last chance to give up his weapon of mass destruction. But the tricky part is, he didn't have any. He wants people to believe that he's running or he has the hold of this weapon and he's developing it, as it gives the impression of he is a man of power. Remember that Saddam ruled through fear, and the idea that he had the weapons of mass destruction was a major part of that. He allowed inspectors into the country under Resolution 1441, but without being fully compliant, meaning he's not being supportive and is not willing to comply, to cooperate with the inspectors. For the US, that gave cause for a war, but the United States Security Council still remained unconvinced. They couldn't make a decision and still in doubt. Russia, China, and France were unconvinced and vetoed the UN resolution for intervention, meaning they are against the resolution which is giving Saddam a chance to give up a weapon of destruction, because those three countries think that Saddam really don't have any weapons of mass destruction. So the image shows the UN or the United Nations Weapons Inspector in Iraq doing an inspection regarding the mass destruction or weapon of mass destruction. With the United Nations in the middle, Spain, Britain, United States are working to build coalition to support military action, while France, Germany, Russia, and more are opposed to military action. So this has really become a challenge to the United Nations in terms of issues in security and peace. So that's the end of our video presentation. I hope you've learned a lot. On behalf of my group mates, thank you for listening and watching. Have a good day, everyone.